Everybody, welcome. Tesla is up 5% at $420 per share. Overall markets are flat. Dow Jones flat, S&P 500 up 0.7, Nasdaq up 1%, Russell 2000 up 0.7%. So Max 7, Magnificent 7 stocks are leading today. The detractors are mostly energy companies. Aside from that, not much of a movement. It's a quiet day, pretty quiet day. Um, Leaders are Tesla, Broadcom, Amazon, and a few of the chip makers. Google is up 2%, Meta is up 2%, and Nvidia is about flat at $125 per share. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Otherwise, let's go through. Thank you, Justin, for letting me know that the audio quality is good. Let's look at the news. I think Trump pushed his tariffs to March 1 from February 1st to March 1st. And that gave the markets a bit of a relief an hour ago. On top of that, this morning we got inflation numbers. PCE prices for December came in pretty much as expected. Headline figure was 0.3, core price was 0.2. But Nick Timiraos pointed out that it was 0.16, which rounds up to 2. So I guess it's better than 0.20. But there's a reason why they only show one significant figure here. Employment cost index for Q4 came in at 0.9%, as expected, slightly higher from the Q3 figure. Chicago PMI came in at 39.5, lower than the expected 41.5. Any questions, comments, please request to speak. And otherwise, I'm going to read this article from Reuters. S&P 500, Nasdaq climb as Apple gains, inflation meets expectations. Chevron falls after missing Q4 results estimates. Atlassian jumps after upbeat Q3 earnings revenue forecast. All three indices set for monthly gains. S&P 500 and Nasdaq rose on Friday as Apple gained following a strong sales forecast and reading on the U.S. Central bank's favorite inflation gauge reinforced expectations that the Fed would keep interest rates unchanged for longer. Now it's interesting because when the Apple earnings came out, the stock was just as volatile as the Tesla stock was after earnings. And today, Apple's stock is actually drifted lower throughout the day, and it's now about break even. And they're struggling with their iPhone sales. I think I listened to earnings call a little bit. They kind of talked about how the iPhone 16 is doing better than 15, but I think the total iPhone unit sales are lower. So people keep expecting a big upgrade cycle, but I think they're having a bit of an issue from competition, especially in China. China numbers of Apple are really, really bad. But it is what it is. Tesla, I think, seeing a similar market share decline in China, even though the EV market is growing fast. Tesla is losing market share. So, we'll see what that means for the longer term. One interesting data point here is at the top of our screens. BYD sells cars for half the price of Tesla at similar margins. So lots of replies to this tweet. And I think people maybe didn't realize how far BYD was. I know there was some, people don't really think of BYD as a successful company because of what they hear from others, I think mostly. But the fact is, BYD's gross margins are actually higher than Tesla's. So I said similar margins, and a lot of people replied, "There's no way, it's same margin. I call bullshit." Blah blah blah. There's like literally a dozen replies saying the same thing. and they just don't know. They just don't realize BYD's margins are better than Tesla's today. And that's despite the fact that BYD sells mostly in China, which is a low margin, highly competitive country, and doesn't have any sales in US. But Tesla sells, the biggest market for Tesla is the US, where the margins are the highest. So despite that, um, BYD has overall better margins than Tesla at half ASP, which is incredible to me. It's incredible. I mean, if someone told me this would be the case 5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed them at all, and I would have been wrong. So curious about your thoughts about the tweet at the top. So request to speak. Let me know what you think, or reply to the tweet. Let me know what you think. I mean, I don't know how they sell cars at $16,700 average ASP. That's just pretty unreal. But the source of this data is Hold the Line, and they do a good job with fact checking. I've never seen anything like I've never seen the wrong data from them. So I see ACDC in the crowd. When he's ready, maybe he can join us. In the meantime, personal income for December was up 0.4%. Personal spending was up 0.7%, greater than the expected 0.5%. So that's going to, we might get some sort of a revision to GDP number for December or for Q4 that was announced, the advanced figure. There's going to be two revisions to it, and maybe that'll lead to a bit of an increase. But the fact the savings rate in the economy is very low right now. Saving rates is declining, so people are using, despite real earnings growth, they're using credit to keep up with the Joneses. So we shall see what that means. Dow Jones is being dragged down today by oil companies. I think Chevron announced Chevron is down 4%, which is a component of Dow Jones. And yeah, except for Tesla, Broadcom, couple of chip makers, it's pretty flat market today. Let's continue with ACDC. How are you?
Hey, Aman. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What do you make of this BYD selling cars at half the price, average selling price of Tesla?
Yeah, that was my question. Do any subsidies and government help figure into these numbers, or these are just gross numbers?
These are gross numbers. Not sure what you mean by government subsidy. I mean, Tesla gets subsidized too. Every automaker gets subsidized from their own country. So, I don't know how you kind of like that's not going to change. So I don't know how you kind of adjust for that. But BYD, other Chinese automakers get subsidized by Chinese government, and Tesla gets subsidized by the US, and Volkswagen gets subsidized by the European government, German government, their own states and everything. Tesla gets subsidized by the states in which it operates. I think that's just part of the automotive industry, and these car makers are seen as national pride. So it's been amazing how European government has kept Tesla FSD out of Europe. And even, people say Europe regulates and everything, but Chinese government has done the same. So if FSD autopilots are improving, lives so much, maybe the politicians don't really care about that. They care more about how many votes they get, which means how many jobs they create. So I don't know.
What about their net profit at these costs? Do we know if Baidu's making money on these?
BYD, yeah, they're making more money bottom line than Tesla. Isn't that amazing? And that's without Tesla paying Elon, by the way.
It's an unbelievable figure. I mean,
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
I
No one,
didn't.
no one knew it. No one knew it. That's why it's getting so much hate in the replies from people who clearly don't even understand the facts. They're like, they believe the opposite of what's true. And they're like hating on me with statements that are clearly false. It's crazy. Robert,
Well, and there's a
ACDC, go.
clear. I'm sorry, just to add to it. I mean, there's a clear reason. I mean, everything that we import is from China, and the huge margins there are. So if you just were to extrapolate that to cars, it would make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's kind of crazy though that the Chinese are allowing U.S. companies, a lot of U.S. companies in China, but the U.S. government is keeping BYD out. You know, like crazy. I mean, we could be buying $10,000, $20,000 new cars instead of buying $30,000, $40,000 new cars right now. If it wasn't for the U.S. government keeping those out, but that's the economy. That's the way it works, I guess. Robert,
You folks don't talk much about battery tech, and BYD kind of owns a fair share of that. Have you given some thought to how that's going to affect the market and market share coming up in the next couple of years?
yeah, I mean, I think about it. We talk about it every now and then. But what do you think?
Well, I look at the pilot production of things like latent and um, high um, silicon anodes, high density silicon anodes. And what's coming down the pike in 3 years is clearly going to be cheaper, more range, faster charging, etc. And if you're not in an ownership position in that technology curve, I don't think you're going to be doing well in the EV market.
I totally agree. I mean, definitely BYD is benefiting from their vertical integration into battery production. No question about it. I mean, even Tesla bought batteries. I think they might in Europe buying batteries from BYD.
They
So
do.
yeah, I
They
mean, it's amazing. You're kind of reliant on your competition, and Tesla is also buying batteries from CATL, and now trying to get into China in energy megapacks. And CATL has its own product. So
exactly.
how is that gonna work?
Yeah, it's a dominant force in this area, no question about it. And what's coming, like I say, in about 3 years is I don't see um, Tesla mentioning anything about that. Maybe they have it in their back pocket, and they can always buy it. But it's uh, it's definitely going to be a big wave of change in about 2027.
ACDC and Steven.
I think, Robert, you answered part of my question. That Tesla's not doing much with it. I just saw Kyle's video on the Zeekr that he did, 0 to 80% charging in 10 minutes. I think that's a huge, huge benefit. That's something that I would be excited about more than any other technology upcoming, for as an EV owner myself.
Thank you, Steven.
Hey, Iman. So I had a question regarding. So, how does a like an actual professional trader deal with their short positions on a company like maybe Tesla when they have these days like today when they're up like 5% for no reason? Like, how are the real not like the consumer traders, but how are the professional traders managing their shorts on days like today? Could you just elaborate a
Oh,
little
I don't
bit? I
know.
don't know.
I am not a professional trader for sure, and trading is definitely my weak area. So I have no idea. But there are other spaces I can. Henry is actually in here. Henry can maybe come up, tell us about how he deals. Answer your trading questions, and Henry can also give us an update on technical analysis of these companies. But I can't add anything there. I'm sorry. ACDC.
Okay, thanks.
So I can add a little bit to it. I'm not a technical trader myself. I do look at some indicators here and there. I look at relative strength in stocks, and also their 50-day and 200-day moving averages. But there's a lot of technical traders. One of my close personal friend, who's actually on X, he he's an ex-IBM guy who worked for Salesforce, got laid off, so just retired, and made a lot of good money. So he's literally just professionally trading. They have their own group where the top guy made 350%, and these are audited results of performance. So the number one guy, I think, made 350% trading last year. The number two guy made 250, and my friend came in number three at 150%. So Mumser, yeah. But these guys, when I talk to him, they have strict disciplines. Okay, they're getting in and getting out. They mostly don't hold on to positions overnight, and rarely even over the weekends ever. And there's so many times that they will sell on their positions and take the loss, but they will stick to their discipline, and that's the only reason why they're able to do so. So just to shed, and their technical indicators that they look at, candles and this and that and everything, it's out of the realm of my understanding.
But are you familiar with like the movie The Big Short when when the housing market continued to go up and he was doing something in order to manage those massive shorts? I just never understood really what he was talking about in that movie, but it's all good. I wasn't trying to steer the conversation away.
It's totally fine. It's Friday. I'm open to new topics. I'm learning myself. So, ACDC, how often do you trade?
I build positions. The minimum that I'll hold on to positions is 6 months, and usually a decision to sell that position will be if I've achieved my target price sooner than I had anticipated. But I don't do any short-term trading. That's why my analysis is more on the fundamental basis than the technical side. But if you want, I can have my friend come in on one of these spaces and talk a little bit about technical trading.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Steven, would you be interested in that kind of conversation?
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I'm just just a novice, very novice trader who's always looking to learn something. So yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, I actually, what just happened in the markets? Things kind of plunged. Is there any news? Reuters report on tariffs are false. Wow. What the heck? Huh. Saturday. What the heck? White House, Trump will implement 25% tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and 10% on China. Reuters report on tariffs are false. This is crazy. ACDC?
Hey, Yaman, if you don't mind, could you spend maybe a couple of minutes? I know the fundamentals in terms of Tesla stock don't really matter much right now, especially the way the stock is reacting. But there's been a lot of change in repricing here to the PE ratios here. And if you look at it, I mean, we've jumped significantly. So people have different estimates.
We talked about that already. We talked
You
about that
did?
before it happened. Yeah, because in Q4 of last year, they had a massive tax benefit that's non-cash, which was overinflating their 12-month earnings. So that just dropped with this new Q4 number, and we talked about that before it happened. So they had the reversal of the valuation allowance on the deferred tax assets. So that was a big deal in Q4 of last year. So now, and I've been saying Tesla's PE ratio is actually 200, and that's exactly what happened. The earnings year over year didn't change much, is that people have this headline of 50% drop or whatever, but they're very low. Like, it doesn't really matter that much. But Tesla's trading at a P ratio of 200. It's crazy. Without any growth, by the way. So, do you have any other follow-up questions or any thoughts on that?
Just one quick question. So, according to my numbers, it's trading at 205 times earnings, and it's trading at 128 times forward earnings, but I can't quite grasp that either because nobody's raised their estimates or anything, for forward earnings either. So I'm not sure exactly how that multiple is contracting when the earnings are going to the same, which is by their estimates, and according to ours, could decline further.
Well, there doesn't have to be a revision to forward earnings. If people were already forecasting increasing earnings, right? Your forward multiple would be lower than your historical multiple, right?
Right. So, okay, I get it. So as we progress throughout the years, more delivery numbers, more quarterly earnings, those multiples can be, because you agree, right, that at best we'll be at flat for earnings this year?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it can be negative, honestly.
I agree. So those numbers can be revised down, and then we'll start seeing, of course, the forward multiple increase too. I get it.
Right. Right, exactly. Yeah, it obviously depends on what the stock price does at the same time. But yeah, I think the important takeaway is that Tesla is generating about $1 billion of free cash flow every quarter. And this has been the same for the last several years. Revenue deliveries have been about the same. Operating cash flow has been about the same for the last 3 years. Some people, yesterday there was somebody who came up and said, who was it? I forget who it was, but someone said, well, that's because they're investing into CapEx. Well, CapEx isn't free cash flow, but it's not in operating cash flow. So they're not investing. That doesn't explain why operating cash flow has been stable. The reason why operating cash flow has been stable is because interest rates have surged, which made car purchases less affordable, and therefore, um, 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 people the expected deliveries growth had gone from 50% to 20% to zero, back to back to back, and now it's going to be very difficult to even have a positive growth number in vehicle deliveries, in my opinion, this year. And if they do it with, by introducing a lower priced vehicle, that's just going to eat into your Model 3 and Model Y sales, which are higher margin. So either way, especially considering the Model Y production ramp, and if this new vehicle comes, that production ramp as well, you're going to have a trouble. You're going to have a problem, um, with your bottom line. So, yeah, I don't know how that changes. Unless people expect interest rates to go back, down in a couple hundred basis points, then Tesla and other stocks. It's not just Tesla. Many other stocks are in trouble. This includes all the companies with hundreds of PE ratios, and that's why I'm short those stocks.
Tesla's
No,
the only Mag 7 with
yeah,
the 100 plus PE ratio.
yeah. No hands mode. No hands mode. Stephen, go ahead. Just kind of don't interrupt people, but yeah, go ahead.
So are we in a bubble? Would the charts indicate that the market is in a bubble officially? Is there an official way of even looking at that?
Yeah, there's no official way of looking at what a bubble is, or especially from a charting perspective. But there are many indications, I think. Markets are overpriced by historical measures, to the extent that those historical results reflect future results. Then that's a problem. By some of the metrics that I watch, the markets today are even more overpriced than the 1999 tech bubble. But this does not mean bubbles cannot grow further. They can continue to inflate. And many do expect. The number of households expecting a recession this year is very low. I think it's like one of the lowest ever. I don't know of any, talking head that is predicting a market peak at this point. Many are expecting continued, um, stock market increase. Maybe not to the extent that we've seen in the last couple of years, but still a positive one. And they may be true. And that kind of goes to the earlier question that you asked: how do you manage your risk? So you have to be mindful of that, right? You have to be mindful of some of these stocks continue higher. I think we're in a bubble though, but who knows? I've been wrong before. I said Tesla will triple in 2022. It didn't, so it still hasn't. Which is
It was close one time.
No, I said triple from end of 2021. So that would mean, let's see, that would mean from $352. So it would have to go above $1,000 per share for that prediction to be half true, directionally true, but timing wrong.
Well, on January 1, 2021, it was trading at 210. So it's doubled since then. No, yeah, it's pretty much doubled since then.
No, that doesn't. I mean, if it goes down and then goes up, it doesn't count, obviously. Let's see. Trump will respond to Trudeau's comments in due time. Not seeing start of trade war with Canada. Okay. How's that going to work? So he wants to put some tariffs on February 1st on Saturday, but I guess he doesn't expect the other side to, answer with tariffs. But my understanding is that if there are tariffs, look at GM stock for a second. Just pull it up. Okay, if you have a computer, look at what happened after earnings. I think they made some comments on tariffs on the earnings call, despite beating their top line, bottom line, whatever. The stock plunged double digits, right? And then yesterday, when there was a report that Trump wants to, I think it was a press conference, Trump is going to, put tariffs on Canada, like wants to proceed with that. Stocks plunge, especially GM, because GM, my understanding is that 1/3 of their cars, sold in US comes from either Canada or Mexico, and they have a lot of suppliers in Canada. And apparently, what happens is these parts go, back and forth across the border. So now this uncertainty around what happens, like, is that going to be one tariff or a bunch of tariffs each time it crosses? And GM is seen as like a primary loser of this deal. So GM stock just, increased from noon to 12:30, 3% after Reuters reported that the tariffs were being pushed from February 1st to March 1st. And then after Trump just denied that Reuters report, GM plunged 4%. So back to, it's trading close to the low at below $50 per share. Yeah, amazing. I mean, I can't imagine being a CEO that's dealing with this shit, Can you imagine? How crazy would that be? Like press conference to press conference, your entire entire thing is changing. Chris Huita, thank you very much for subscribing. He just subscribed. Thank you. ACDC, I want to do subscriber only spaces. And I was thinking maybe doing on a weekend, maybe like a Sunday night or like a Sunday night kind of thing to review the events of the week and maybe what happened over the weekend, maybe preview of the futures for the indices. And like this weekend, we could start with a review of the earnings call, the earnings release and the earnings call for Tesla, and to kind of dig deep into it. But I can't, like, I want to be consistent with it, but I don't know what time. But in any case, I think what I'm going to do is for subscribers, I'm going to record these spaces and they can listen to it. So that could be a kind of like a freemium type of business model where, the live recording is free. But if you want to listen to it later on, you have to be a subscriber. And then there's going to be some subscriber only weekend spaces kind of thing. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. It's kind of like last weekend when I was asking you to do a space over the weekend, the DeepSeek weekend. There's a lot that's happening
Exactly.
over the weekend, so I think it's a good way to kind of recap that on Sunday itself before you get into the whole week, because as every day goes by the week and or during the week, you have so much more. So a good recap would be great, to kind of like start off the week. And yeah, I'm flexible on the time. What time are you thinking? Like early evening ish?
Are you yeah, you're in Midwest, right? So
I'm same time zone as you, yeah.
yeah. So um yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, maybe like 8 p.m. Eastern kind of thing, but there's a Super Bowl coming next weekend. I don't know. We can't play by ear. There's still only about 10 subscribers now. So, X was only just now reduced my price from $250 a month to $5 a month. I mean, I requested that this change like a year ago. It's crazy. Or several months ago. But actually, like I've been messaging them for more than a year to be able to do this, which is crazy. But anyway, so it's not only $5 to subscribe to this channel on X, which makes it much easier instead of going into other platforms and stuff. So we can do an X on subscribers on the space, and we can play it by ear. But I think like I want to do one on the weekends for sure. Um,
I think
and
that'll be great. I
yeah,
think actually, having the subscribers engage a little bit more, ask
yeah,
questions that pertain to them,
right,
that would be great. And I think that would provide great value to them.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. And I'll probably just do like if I come up with a tweet that is I can change it always to subscriber only to but anyway.
I thought all the new subscribers you were getting were paying $250 a month.
I know, right? Yeah, no.
I was like, wow, this guy's got a lot of value if these people are shelling out this money.
No, I think some people just want to show sports and at any
Oh yeah,
cost,
no,
and
I didn't
they
know
may
that you ever changed
they
it.
may yeah, they may have like, I mean, yeah, I'm talking. I mean, there's definitely a couple of people who paid $250 a month for a few months before this change happened, and now they're going to pay $5, which is totally fine. I mean, like, I think, like I told them, you just wait a couple of months and start paying. And one of them said, so he signed up, okay, and I said, "What did you do? You could have just waited a couple months. They're going to change it to $5." And he goes, "Well, that's why I want to do it now." I'm like, "Okay, that's really nice." But yeah, I think you know we can probably do some subscribe only spaces in addition to these Tesla Live spaces. I'm gonna keep Tesla Live space to 1 hour and then dig deeper into subscribers, because like subscribers are by paying they're showing that they value the work and they value the input, and they want more like deeper stuff. So smaller spaces where we can dig in deeper into things, whether it's Tesla earnings or macroeconomics or AI papers, whatever. I think that would be cool. Anyway,
Yaman, I just wanted to make a quick point. So, and this is just to everybody who's on right now, anybody who's considering subscribing, but like, I appreciate your um, input and all this information that you provide more now than I did before. Okay. People don't realize it, but it would have been easier for you to just continue the Tesla hype and continue on that support. You chose the more difficult route, and I applaud you for that. Okay. So I think what people are getting now is more of an unbiased, honest opinion than ever before. And I actually think it's more valuable. And as far as what I can provide, like I've been in the investment world, but I'm not looking to make any money from this. Okay, my account is not monetized. My account will never be monetized. I'll say stuff, I'll post stuff that's people like, people don't like. So I'll always tell you my honest opinion on everything, and I'm not doing it for any monetary benefit. Also,
thank you, ACDC. I appreciate that. Looking forward to chatting more in the future. Yeah, it's really nice how you say that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I told people I was short, I lost like majority of my patrons, all of my sponsors, and thousands of followers, and I was expecting that. Like I mean, I didn't expect it to be to that extent. It's on the Patreon side. I was expecting to lose even more followers, to be honest with you. But on X, that didn't happen. But patrons just like disappeared, and I could like I predicted something along those lines, but I was hoping the result would be different, but it wasn't. So it's okay.
All
It
your
is what it
knowledge is
is.
being wasted, Yaman. I mean, you have a lot of it. You have professional training in this. You've been doing this for years, and it was being covered up by all the Tesla hype. So I totally agree with ACDC. I mean, it's great what you do now. Earlier, I stopped listening to you, but yeah, good on you, man.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, we have Henry Chung. Henry, how are you?
Hi, Yaman. How are you? Hi,
Um,
everyone.
I'm good. What'd you think of the earnings? So I know you invest in Tesla and you also trade Tesla. You do some technical analysis. Would you like to
Yes,
give us an overview of your thoughts lately?
of course. For those that are not familiar with me, probably most of you, because I'm not a huge, I don't have a lot of followers, but I have a core position in Tesla in my main account, and I have a smaller trading account that I trade around my core positions. And Tesla is one of them. And actually, heading into the earnings, I saw personally that there was a higher chance for it to retrace back to maybe at least the 350 level. Uh, but and correct me if I'm wrong, Em, and I'm not really good with the financial numbers and stuff, but I think at least I think that the revenue and margins, basically all the important numbers, didn't meet expectations, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so then why is the price going back up? That's part of trading. Anyone who tells you, you have to follow them or price is definitely going to go in one direction, I would run the other way. Trading is basically probability, uh, estimates, managing your risk, uh, and following the direction. You never want to go opposite of the direction as a trader. That being said, fast forward to today. I'm going to post something right now. It'll be a good reference. Uh, Earlier today, I tweeted that looking at the flows, I saw every time a 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 share bid came in, they would absorb that liquidity. I was part of that, obviously, just a small little fraction of the volume, but it was too easy. Too easy to bid and then drive it back up for a quick scalp, and that kept on repeating. So I saw these guys absorbing liquidity to push things back up, and I thought that once we got to the 418-ish level, that would have been a good time to fade. And I think I'm at the gym right now, so it have well, yeah. So it's back down to the 414-ish level. Um, so technically speaking, we were at a very pivotal point, because the AVWAP, the anchored VWAP from the highs, I think of 488-ish, that was anchored to that. As of today, it was around 416. We bobbled around 416 and as high as, let's say, 420, and now we're fading. Um, for swing traders, for new investors, for even dollar cost averaging, in my personal opinion, from a technical perspective, this is not the level. You don't want to add a new position around here. If it finds support at the anchored VWAP, what I'm saying is for a couple of days, at the 416 level and it goes higher, then contrary to all the fundamentals, for those who are trading for or swing trading, um, you want to follow that flow short term. Um, and I think, uh, besides the fundamentals, I think that the narrative that Elon was able to broadcast during the earnings call uh, was a catalyst. Um, so it's helping my core position, but from a trader's perspective, I have my antennas up, my spidey senses alerts are going off the charts. So all I'm doing is managing my risk. I'm willing to risk a certain amount, go in and get out. Uh, so I would feel a lot more comfortable. I have been feeling a lot more comfortable under 400. Anything above 400 with the anchored VWAP at 416 and it's going bouncing back around that level is not reassuring. So I hope that gives a little good perspective from a technical analysis side. And lastly, from an options perspective, heading into earnings, the open interest, there was a high level at 450 and another high level at 350-ish. What we're doing right now is trading in the middle. And it can swing very fast in both ways. So why risk heavy in the middle? You always want to, your advantage, your edge, usually as a trader, is when you have it on one extreme or the other.
Thank you,
Thanks for your
Henry.
time. Yeah, man.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful. Yeah, I mean that's really good. I'm part of another space in the mornings that I join sometimes from another account, and they talk about these things every morning. I kind of just listen. It's not my expertise area, but I love listening about it. And Henry put it like in that space, people kind of just talk a different language basically, and you kind of have to just follow. And but Henry just put it very nicely for us, explained it in plain English, so that we can make some sense of it. That was really helpful. I would really appreciate you, Henry, if you come up and every now and then give us an update, like, every few days or so, that would be awesome.
Sure, love to do it. Yeah, man. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. ACDC?
Just a quick question for Henry, if he's still available. Um, Henry, when you said that some of these traders stepped in and then took it up, was it because it was bouncing off its 50-day average? And the second question that I have for you is, when you said you've got a trading position versus your core position, what is the percentage of your trading position, not just in Tesla, just your overall trading position as a percentage of your total portfolio of core other
Oh,
positions?
yeah, very good question. And yeah, uh, to answer your question about the moving averages, the 50-day, I think I tweeted a couple of days ago. I don't know exactly where it is right now, but it did test it. I think it was the other day that I think on the day of earnings, so before earnings was announced, I think it tested the 50-day, if I'm not mistaken. And to your question about the percentage of my portfolio, I keep a strict separate, I have totally different accounts. My core positions are completely separate. I don't think about it. So as a percentage, I would say my trading portfolio is roughly about 25-30% of my long-term core main account. How heavy do I go into positions? Maybe is a deeper question that you might have in mind. I so depending on the situation, I go full tilt. I go on full margin uh, on my trading account, as long as I define the risk. So if I'm willing to risk, let's say $100, uh, if I go full tilt in margin, the number of shares increases, so my leeway, my wiggle room, price movement decreases as well. If I don't go on margin and I put, let's say, a quarter of my trading portfolio in, so I have 3/4 left, then the wiggle room increases. And but my stop loss, my risk parameters don't change. So if my average per day income from trading is 100, I'm not going to risk 200. And once I get the 100, that's discretionary. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you both. Any other questions for Henry? Any other trading questions? Now is the time to ask. We get Henry every now and then. Henry, how long have you been doing this?
Oh, I started in college at 1992. I had friends going to NYU Stern, who is real. Their families were more well off than me, and they were showing off, putting on CNBC Worldwide at 1, 2 a.m. While we're drinking and all that. So that's where I got my first exposure. Yeah, man. Along the way, I have blown up accounts. I have taken breaks from trading, investing, refocused on my main job. Uh, but it's been a long journey. This is not something I think most people, probably a lot of people see it and hear it on YouTube. The stories of, people wanting to be doctors. You don't go on YouTube, hit a couple of videos and certify yourself as a doctor or any professional. Trading is, I would say, the basics of it, the fundamental analysis. If you're a technical trader or a fundamental trader, then you probably have to learn more about financials and stuff. But that, as a trader, not an investor, it's more psychological because the rules that you set in place, believe me, the best of us say, no, just this one time, I'm gonna not follow my rules. Yeah, you might get it right 3 out of 4 times, but all you need is that one full tilt mistake, and you take away a month, a year, or maybe you just blow out the account. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm nowhere near perfect. Every year I try to be positive, which thankfully I've been, from different degrees each year. But I'm learning. Every year is a little different. Um, and yeah, I wish everyone the best of luck, and looking forward to be on as a speaker
Thank
frequently
you, Henry.
as much as possible.
I appreciate it. All right. Um, oh man, that's great overview. Trump, man, when Trump is on doing a press conference, things are so volatile. It's crazy. There's a volume spike that just happened in Tesla. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe Henry can tell us. Henry, are you seeing this volume spike in Tesla in the last minute or two?
No, I haven't checked yet. I'm gonna check right now. In Tesla?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's what I was talking about, Yaman. A couple of minutes a while ago, while I was speaking. Um, See, this is
there was
indicator
a big
of,
there's a big volume spike in one of the in the last couple of minutes. But
yeah.
anyway,
See,
all right, let's switch topics a little bit. Thank you very much. It sounds like are you getting ready to travel? Sounds like you're packing.
no, actually, sorry about that. I'm in the gym and I'm trying to
Oh,
find a
okay.
place where, it's good to speak. So I'm kind of moving around. Sorry if it's
Oh
bad
no, no problem.
audio.
No problem at all. That's great. That's awesome. All right. Trump says hasn't made up his mind on tariff timeline for EU. Tariffs will be going into effect on February 1st, Saturday. And I also heard that, I was watching some podcasts and people are saying this would last like at most a week. After a week, the entire auto industry would come to a grinding halt. But guess what? They said the same thing about the union strikes. It was supposed to last a couple of weeks and then, it would come to a grinding halt. And it just didn't happen. Cars got pumped. There were some reports of this factory, that factory losing some production, but I don't know. My understanding. So, ACDC, did you see the big revision to the GDP number for Q4 right before the advanced review came out? Atlanta Fed's GDP now made a massive revision down, like a 1% division from 3.2% to 2.3%. And then the number came out to 2.3% to the revised number. But all quarter, people were like, Oh, look at it. We're still growing 3%. Did you see that?
I did not see that, but does that mean I win the bet now?
Oh, wait a second. We have a bet on that? Hold on. Man, why'd I bring this up?
No, we don't. We don't. You already
Okay.
won the Q2 bet for last year on that. So
Yeah, that was Q2. That's right. No, apparently what happened was, so there was a big net export revision. So the GDP now revises the number after certain reports, and obviously the biggest component is personal consumption because 2/3 of the economy is based on consumption. But there's some, um, sorry, something is stuck in my throat. Give me 1 second. Okay. Um, I got gifted this Turkish dessert. Okay, it's called çekme helva, chocolate covered cube halva. Okay, and every time I eat it, it gets stuck in my throat. And I guess this is why it's not a very popular um, candy.
are
But
you
anyway,
accepting gifts from Tesla Bulls? Just
no, this is a friend of mine. This is a friend of mine who recently went to Turkey. So I asked for, you know, can you please bring a box of Turkish delight? Okay, Turkish delight. We all have had it, right? The guy comes back with his box of Turkish delight, puts it on the kitchen counter, and his wife eats it, the entire thing, before he has a chance to give it to me. So instead, he got this another box of something else. And no, anyway, all right, back to so GDP now. 2/3 of it is based on personal consumption because the consumer, domestic consumption based economy. And then there's some, investments into equipment or intellectual property. That's another smaller component of GDP. There's some imports export component, residential construction type of component, and these things get revised. Usually, it doesn't change that much after, like in the last few days of it. But this time, apparently, what happened was all these companies, to get ready for tariffs, they imported a ton of stuff late in the year. And that component didn't get revised until the day before the GDP, advanced GDP numbers came out. So it went from 3.2% to 2.3%, which I've never seen before. So I thought that was really interesting. So I guess kind of goes to show how important these tariffs are, how companies are trying to navigate this uncertain environment, and that's changing from day to day, sometimes from hour to hour, and it just makes things very difficult, I think. What's your take on tariffs?
for sure. It's, I mean, all the planning is for the long term, but in the near term, there's a lot of negatives to these tariffs. So you're going to have these talks go back and forth, and I'm not sure if all the promises on them will be able to be kept because I mean, Trump is trying to balance two sides of the equation here with the tariffs. He wants to put the tariffs on, but he has to, keep some of these companies happy also. So it's not as easy as just imposing these tariffs and call it a day. It's going to be a much tougher decision for him to do that. And I'm not sure if you saw this on Kalshi. The odds on Trump imposing tariffs dropped to 32%. They literally crashed today. They were as high as I think like 70 or 80%, and they dropped to 32%.
Yeah, I saw that when Walter Bloomberg posted it. And then after that, an hour later, he comes out and denies the Reuters report. And yeah, I mean, if people had inside information, they probably made a lot of money based on those swings. And there's no insider trading rules on Kalshi, I don't think. So it's not a very liquid market, though. But if you're trading in Kalshi, then you should know that there's probably people trading with inside information with no possible repercussions for it. And it's the same in stock market too, I guess. But they're not supposed to be doing that.
Did you talk about DeepSeek at all? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, my thoughts haven't changed. I mean, we talked about DeepSeek before it happened. Weeks before it happened. Were you not here for that?
No, I completely. I was here for the whole
Yeah.
thing, but I mean, it seems like there's new stuff coming up every day, every hour. They want to basically, you know, minimize DeepSeek here by all means. So one of the narratives now is that it was the actual cost that actually went into it. So I was just wondering if what are your thoughts on that? The thoughts coming up to be $1 billion, I think, versus the claim.
Well, I don't think that's what really matters. I think, yeah, I noticed the same thing. There was a lot of effort to downplay the impact from DeepSeek, and literally every single person says it is overblown. Like the impact on Nvidia stock is overblown. So many analysts went on TV, CNBC, Bloomberg, um, and other channels, Yahoo Finance, and everything, and they talked about how the reaction to DeepSeek is way overblown. They say, but despite that, Nvidia stock is still, basically choppy, 20% below its, more than 20% below its all-time high. So I think that tells you something, first of all. Secondly, not a single sell side analyst downgraded the stock after that. Not one sell side analyst that covers NVIDIA took it seriously, which is incredible, you know? Um, and right now, the analyst ratings on NVIDIA are actually one of them upgraded it. Yeah, January 29th, there was an upgrade on NVIDIA. So now we have 22 buy ratings on NVIDIA, zero hold. Sorry, we have 57 outperform or buy ratings on NVIDIA, zero hold, and zero sell. So it's literally, as every analyst rates NVIDIA buy, which is amazing to me. Talk about a one-sided full boat, you know? So this is a contrarian's dream.
100%, and I'm going to vouch for that. That the retail community, investing community, sees all of these lopsided buy ratings as a positive catalyst, whereas the actual traders and the brokers, they see this as a contraindicator every single time. And this is not now. This has been a proven method for years and years. It always happens that when these analysts jump, they're not the first ones. They're literally the last ones.
Right. But you're not going short, right? You're not going short. So if you were truly opposite, wanted to be opposite of 100% buy rating, you would want to go short, but you're not. And the fact is, there's only 1% short interest on Nvidia, so nobody's going short stock. There's not a single soul, except for me, I guess. I don't know anybody else who is short Nvidia for not just like a trade, who truly believes that the stock will be lower a year, 2 years from today versus today, or a few months from today versus today, which is incredible to me. I mean, this is like psychology. I mean, this week has been so incredible to me from a psychology perspective, you know, um, how people justified and really latched onto all sorts of conspiracy theories about DeepSeek. They said, oh, they, imported GPUs from Singapore, like through Singapore, or that, they excluded this cost and that cost, which doesn't matter. That's not the point of the news. You know, they said, the hedge fund had H100s. Some guy came out, Scale AI CEO, the youngest billionaire in history, clearly a smart guy. But in the interview, he says, um, as far as I understand, so he kind of hedges what he's saying, but that's not how it got reported or his words got spread. Um, it was spread as a definite that DeepSeek used H100s that the hedge fund had from prior. Maybe not, you know. So I think this was a wake up call to people. I think people are paying a bit more attention to, like, it's a kind of crack in the theory that Nvidia is a monopoly. It's a crack in the theory that Nvidia is dominant and will always be dominant, and which I don't think is true. So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see how it turns out. Only time will tell. But there's one thing: not a single, I don't know of a single bull who sold their Nvidia stock. Like Wes, Tesla Trip comes here, who worked at Tesla, Google, SpaceX, and other companies before, other big tech companies. Obviously knows his stuff, left and right, and just an incredibly knowledgeable person. But he's an Nvidia holder, and I don't think he sold any shares. He didn't add any shares, but he didn't sell any shares. I know other Tesla bulls who added to their Nvidia shares, which is fine, you know. But I don't know anyone who sold. So if everybody's saying, I mean, and then there's so many analysts like Tom Lee and Dan Ives went around the channel, they did their rounds saying this is a generational buying opportunity. Despite that, the stock is still at $125 per share, way below its $150 all-time high and $145 before the drop. So I'm really curious what's going to happen next. It kind of bounced. I mean, to Henry's side of things on technical analysis, if you look at it, it kind of bounced on the 200-day moving average. So, 200-day moving average is seen as a magical indicator. In technical analysis, it's a very, very important level, both on the upside and the downside, they say. And there are some stocks that, trade more on technical analysis than others, I guess. But that's exactly where it bounced. And I don't think people appreciate how monumental the DeepSeek news was. And I posted about it at the top of our screens on December 31st. So literally 3 weeks before the market got scared. So we'll see what happens. I don't think anything has changed. I think this is a monumental event. I think it shows that you don't need these training. You don't need to pay, 80% margins for top of the line training chips. And on top of that, there's some competitive threats coming too from AMD now. MI300X GPUs are ramping. The supply is ramping. And we'll see what happens with Blackwell chips when they come online. But I suspect the demand growth, the revenue growth will dramatically slow down in the coming quarters, if not turn negative. I think it might even turn negative. So we'll see. I mean, I also pointed out to Microsoft declining cash balance over the last several quarters. I've been doing that for the last couple of months now. Microsoft is NVIDIA's biggest customer, and I said they can't continue buying these things at tens of billions of dollars. And that's literally what they said. I think they said, we're going to continue this year. So 2 more quarters, I guess. And I think they're going to kind of start, I think they said something along the lines of they're going to slow down their capex, or they're going to manage their finance or something along those lines. So I don't know. We'll see. I think people are realizing now how kind of like, there is no moat in AI so far. There's no moat. A model that you think is good can be bested overnight from some part of the world with a few $1 million or a couple $1 billion. Who cares if it's a couple billion, not a couple million? Companies can raise a couple billion at no problem now. So, ACDC, what do you think?
That's exactly my sentiment with DeepSeek too. I think it's not just about the compute, but they've shown a lot of other things that kind of pokes hole into this whole moat around AI, where only the few people thought that they have it. So I think it completely changes the narrative, and if not anything else, it's going to bring a lot of questions around capex spending by any big player. And I also wanted to get a quick take from Henry, what he thinks technically of NVIDIA, because it seems like a broken stock. Just about a few weeks ago, it seemed like the 50-day moving average was what it was trying to grab onto every single time, and it would bounce off that many times, and that's been severely broken, and now it's like the 200-day average. So any thoughts from him?
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I think NVIDIA, there's less bamboozlement in there per se. It's for me personally, at least. It's easier to follow the trend intraday. Um, the way I see NVIDIA is like it's like before the downturn in Apple, before their earnings. Um, you could see the flow. It's very uh, smooth. Eh, and NVIDIA is like that. I don't know if that's going to remain like that. I know NVIDIA just uh, tanked the other day, biggest market cap loss in history. But just taking that out, that day out, it's so far okay. Um, yeah, uh, thanks.
Okay, so there you go, ACDC. Henry agrees from a technical perspective with all the sell side analysts that are approaching from a fundamental perspective or momentum perspective. And people still think that this is the company to be in, that the long term trend is still intact, that nothing has changed. So maybe they're right, but
Oh,
maybe they're not.
and just Yaman, you could tell the difference when when Nvidia hits a certain level. There's no liquidity grabs, and then going the opposite way with that liquidity. That's what I mean by bamboozlement. I hope that it clarifies it a little bit more.
Can you explain a bit more, Henry, about liquidity grabs?
Sure. Yeah, I think most people, most traders know that liquidity grabs are there to kind of add to inventory or remove from inventory. So I think I'm trying to use the right verbiage, but buy liquidity grabs are there for when that event occurs, is for market makers maybe coordinating with big money. There's a big client that wants to offload, so they'll push the price up, stop at the stop points, at the pivot levels or liquidity levels that where the market makers know that if they push it up high at that level, there are going to be people covering. So they may assist their clients, like the prime brokers. They push it up, and then they find the liquidity to sell to. But that's normal. I think that's normal market behavior. What I mean is when bamboozlement happens is when they take that liquidity for no apparent reason, but just to go the opposite way. And you could tell if you a lot of people might think, like new traders might feel like, oh, they're not lucky, they know it all. On those days, usually that's bamboozlement because they don't know, they're just throwing a dart. So yeah, that's less evident in the video right now, not right now, but has been. Will it continue? I don't know. I just know that NVIDIA is a lot more constructive than Tesla.
Interesting. Okay. So is that the same thing as bull traps, bear traps, Henry?
Uh, yeah, Yeah, I think you're right, Yaman. I'm just trying to find the right context to visualize it in my head. Albeit there's different scenarios, but in a general sense, yes. Bull trap, bear trap. But why I'm hesitant to say that is that it's more subjective because let's say you're going long, it breaks a new high, and you're saying, oh, I want to take a trade, I want to go long because it broke the previous high. That might be an area where if the prime broker is saying, oh, I got a large order to sell, I got to help this client, I'm going to push it up, and then once I see buyers, I'm going to offload to them. Well, if you were one of the buyers, then you might say that was a bull trap. But in actuality, that was a business transaction being made, a legitimate one.
ACDC, no hands mode. Go ahead, ACDC.
So Henry, I think what I meant was that most technical traders, they trade very strong patterns. I mean, these guys are putting money and they need a confirmed movement, right? And I haven't heard like I don't know if you were on earlier, but I was talking about this friend of mine. I just had like an hour long conversation with him this week. We usually talk about once a week, and he brings in his technical stuff. I bring in my fundamental stuff, and we try to find maybe sometimes some common stocks. Nvidia was not even part of the conversation among 20 stocks that we probably discussed. And this guy, like I said, he produced 150% returns last year. And this is verified on X, and this is part of USIC, which is the U.S. investment companies investment competition, which is a verified contest of $1 million portfolio plus portfolios. So Nvidia just seemed like it was nowhere on his radar. The trend is like completely broken. But are you saying that? I mean, yes, it's more constructive than Tesla, but is it really like a trader's stock right now anymore?
Right now, it's not. It's below its key moving average. An average, a moving average that I consider is whether it's institutional support or not. That big breakdown just caused damage. It wasn't even a control bar; it was just a gap. But I'm talking about ACDC. I'm talking about prior, um, relative to let's say a Tesla. But now, if you want me just to focus on where my hunch is or where the current activity is right now, it's an area I wouldn't see. My core position is in the 90s. Um, so that's where my head is at, where my anchor is at. So there's a bit of space there. So, but if I were to go into day trading Nvidia, I would feel less confident here. ACDC. Even from a swing trade, what I'm looking for actually is it to go up a little bit. I would say above 130, like 133, 135, around there, and it to start rolling over. That's where I would, if I were to trade it, I would fade it.
Henry, let me ask you something. A lot of technical traders tell me that all gaps must be filled. All gaps must be filled. Obviously, Nvidia left a massive gap between 143, $142
Yep.
to $128. So that's a $15 gap. How confident are you that the stock will fill that gap?
Right now, no, I'm not. I'm not confident. If it gets above 133, 135, and it lingers around there, um, yeah, I don't want to put out a generalized template or a rule, but what I like to see is whether from a gap or from a control bar, I would like to see it retrace to the 50%, so half of the gap or half of the control bar, and see how it reacts around there. If it stays there for more than a day or two, uh, even better, a week, it closes on Friday with all the options expiring and it closes at that level, I'm going to say that there's a big probability we're going to fill in the gap if we haven't already. But right now, it's broken. And I might sound contradictory, but I'm at the gym and maybe I didn't hear the question clearly or before. But now when I look at Nvidia, it's not the same. But from a flow perspective, maybe this will give perspective on it. Yesterday, I saw after hours for Tesla, very like deliberately selling. Every time it get to a certain level, it's sold. I see that, and I'm not claiming that I know what the market participants are doing on the other side of things, but my guess is based on aftermarkets yesterday, overnight activity, as well as pre-market today on Tesla, they use that volume to push it up. Where is it right now? I didn't check, but it's nowhere near the highs, I think. Um, Whereas Nvidia is not like that. There's no aftermarket or pre-market or overnight inventory building to go the opposite way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Henry. We'll
Mhm.
let you to your chest bench presses.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Um,
Hen-
ACDC.
Henry,
Yeah, go ahead.
Henry, I need you to do some heavy weights. I want to see your name on the USIC competition next year.
I try every day, but I fall short of it.
ACDC. What's it gonna take for you to short or buy puts on Nvidia?
I told you, man. I don't short. I mean, the max I could do is just sell. I'm a net zero holder of Nvidia right now, so I can't. I don't. But I would if I was talking to anybody, it would be a strict no buy right now. I cannot imagine people stepping in here and buying this.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see some people. I mean, you're so right. I mean, the some of the traders that are in the space I mentioned, they're also not even talking about Nvidia right now. I mean, that used to be one of their favorites, and they're, I guess Henry, just like Henry said, wants to kind of break that 200 moving average. I mean, I thought they would be coming in at 200-day moving average. Like somebody came in, maybe not this couple people in that space, and maybe not Henry or maybe not your friend, but some people obviously stopped the drop at 200-day moving average. And um, I think that's fascinating. That is such a fascinating thing, you know. Um, and the moving average today, Nvidia's moving average today is at $120, $122 per share, depending on how you look at it. So it's right around there right now. It's like literally there. And maybe some announcement from Trump this afternoon, um, with his meeting with Jensen, will change that, right? Who knows? Maybe that will change this afternoon. Who knows? We don't know. Um,
Jensen may
but
walk out of the White House selling 50,000 Blackwells to Trump.
or maybe Jensen will be on this E-Trade account selling all the shares, in one trade. How about that? Billions of dollars sold in one trade before the press conference. No, I doubt it. But I don't know. He's actually sold a few hundred million, I think, or maybe a couple $1 billion of shares on the way up. I guess with his, I think he's worth like $100 billion or so. So it's not a, it's not a nothing. Like it's not a nothing burger, but it's also not like his 50% of his holdings or something like some CEOs do sometimes. Like Elon sold tens of billions of dollars of shares, you know. Um,
And apart from Jensen himself, I don't think Nvidia has seen any meaningful insider buying. There's been a lot of insider selling, but there hasn't been any insider buying.
yeah, Yeah, I think lack of insider buying is not a huge indicator for selling, for shorting a stock. But massive insider sales could be an indicator combined with other things. But I was going to say one more thing. Oh, Nvidia has been buying back stock. They've been buying back a lot of stock. I see Tech Greg in the audience. If he wants to come up, I have a couple of questions for him. But let me see. Nvidia share repurchases. I forget how much they buy. The company approved a $25 billion share repurchase in August 2023 and bought back stocks worth around $15.4 billion in the first half of fiscal 2025. So, yeah, I mean, it looks like, they've bought, let's see. Okay, let me just see 1 second. In Q3, Nvidia repurchased $11 billion in stock, which was about 0.3% of its market cap. Q1, $15 billion. So they're buying tens of billions of dollars of stock. Tech Greg, what is going on with you? You keep replying to my tweets with I'm like, man, just add some value instead of disagreeing with literally anything I say with empty words. What is going on, man?
I'm messing with you in a
Well,
respectful way.
I
I
had
try
to
not to
mute
be.
you. I had you mute you because all these notifications I'm getting, I'm like, just add value at something.
I'm not
And I'm
being
like, I'm in such a loss of words because you come up here and we have good discussions, and then you go into my replies and leave this nonsensical stuff. I'm like, would you have any questions? Do you want to say something?
No. I try to do. I try not to be rude or disrespectful when I mess around in there, because it's just like you fight the trend. What I find interesting about it is that when Tesla goes up, you look for reasons that it should go down, and you question every little thing. And sometimes you just can't fight market momentum, no matter how value a value look at the stock makes it think that it should go down. And it's just funny how you just argue with the trend, I find.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And by the way, I agree with you. I'm short Tesla at 450, and I'm holding my short. I haven't covered it yet, even though I'm bullish on them in the long term. I love the company and everything they're in it. But I know I don't disagree with a lot of what you say. But I also just don't fight the market. When it goes up, it's not fundamentals. It is what it is.
Okay. Well, that's pretty shocking news that you're short the market, short Tesla. I didn't realize you were really short Tesla.
Oh, I mean, it's a practical trade. I'm a trader, man, and I go with market momentum. It's not about whether I'm,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I'm not bullish about the company overall. It's just a trade.
Okay. So, what's your strategy around your short position? Are you going to cover it anytime soon? What do you think of the earnings? Can you give us an overview of how you're
Yeah,
thinking about the stock?
the earnings are being ignored by people, and they're listening to Elon's hype, and it's absolutely incredible how the herd is going against what what the market should do. They're betting on all these things that aren't going to produce revenue for a long time. I agree with a lot of your thesis, but you just can't fight the trend. I think I'll cover around. I expect it to go down to about 350 in the next month or so. Is my opinion. And I'd probably cover there, and it might even go lower, or it might, or these crazy people that buy. There's this one woman that she comments on your thing sometimes. That Eva McMillan, she bought $27,000 worth of options that expired worthless today, and she posted it on her Twitter at 420. She bought them before earnings, 420 options, 27,000 worth, and people just make insane bets on Tesla. It's amazing.
And that's really sad. That's really sad. I met Eva in person at one. I think it was the Cybertruck delivery event, and she's very nice. She is so nice. I mean, I have nothing
Yeah.
but positive things to say about her, and that really breaks my heart that she lost so much money. But she's a very successful realtor, so
Oh,
I'm
no,
guessing she can. I'm guessing
yeah.
she can handle it.
Oh, but she makes buys too. I don't
Mhm.
know, 1,000 shit. She's bought 1,000, and she posts her buys. So yeah, she can take the hit. It's not like she lost her life savings, but that's a gutsy move to buy that 420, and it was like trading at 405 at the time. And I commented, I'm like, "What are you doing?" But I don't know. Yeah, some people make some gutsy trades on that stock. It's amazing.
So she bought right before the earnings release.
Yes. The stock, she bought them out of the money for $13 a contract, 420s. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really sad.
It would have
That's
had to
really
go to 433 before she saw $1.
Right.
And I'm like, what? Yeah, they expired today, I guess, right? Worthless.
Well, we don't know yet. We don't know yet. Who
Well,
knows? Maybe in the next hour something will happen and she'll make $1 million. You never know.
yeah, I don't think so. It's down to 408. It was up to 420 before. I think Trump with his tariffs is killing the market.
Yeah, I
Plus,
don't know.
yeah,
I mean, she
NASDAQ,
voted for Trump too, you know.
I know
Right.
she did. Very big Trump supporter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But NASDAQ's only up 50 now. It was up, what, 250 before?
Yeah. So are you primarily a trader, or do you have a long position and you kind of trade around it like Henry does?
Yeah, I have a couple of accounts. So, I'm long Tesla since like, I don't know, $210. Not a ton. I'm not rich like her, but I have one where I hold and one account where I trade. Interactive brokers I trade. I'm short Carvana too at around 240, which is going against me right now. But I think Carvana's a short also.
It sounds like we agree on stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Um,
It's just funny when you make these tweets. That's why, or what do you call them on X now? These posts on X. I'm just prodding you. I'm not really trying to be rude. I hope you don't find my responses rude.
No, I don't find them rude. It's just that I mute sometimes when there's a lot of replies and it pops up in my notifications and I just can't read all that. So
I
I
got
have to
you.
mute people. I don't want to mute you because I know you're very intelligent and you knowledgeable about things. But
Okay. All right. I'll try to reply with a reason next time. I won't just
thank you.
mess with you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So when you trade, so Henry was earlier here. He gave us an overview of how he thinks about his trades or positioning. What do you look for? Do you usually look for moving averages or liquidity levels or option positioning? What are your kind of primary go-tos as you trade?
To be honest, I'm kind of like a fundamentalist like you, and I just go with the gut after that. And I know that doesn't sound like a strategy, but I look at the fundamentals, and if it's really overbought or oversold, I'll take a position, and it works for me more than it doesn't. So that, and I found when you find something in trading that works for you, just go with it. It's not like I trade a ton, but I just enough to be active.
Okay, gotcha. All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to short and not afraid to go long. Either way.
Yeah. ACDC is religious about shorting. He is not going to short. And I wonder why. ACDC, what kind of is keeping you from shorting stocks?
It's it's kind of like going into that mindset. I mean, you have to realize that the predominant trading that I do is for clients and not for myself. In fact, um, I there's times that I have to decide. So I just built a position on Oracle, and I was unable to pick it up for myself because anytime that I want to pick it up, I have to. It's by our firm's trading policies that the best pricing is given to the client always. So I can't. It's called trading ahead and so on forth. So I can't do that. So I feel like if I go short, then it would be kind of going against my thesis. Like I can go, I guess, go individually stock short, but if I go short against the market as a whole, then technically I shouldn't be holding any long positions in the client's account, right? So it just kind of changes my mindset into a negative mindset. I try not to be in that overall. If you look at the long-term picture, which is what I invest for, and the S&P's historical returns, you'll always make money in the market. So you just have to be disciplined and not be short-sighted. And that's why I kind of like just stay away from it. I know I'd probably leave a lot of money on the table because of that, but I'd rather do that than bounce back and forth.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. There's a lot of rules around, trading ahead of your clients, obviously. So that would be a really risky move for you. I understand now. Thank you for explaining. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I agree with ACDC on a lot of those things, and that's why I never shorted a company in the past 8 years. And then this week I opened a short position in Carvana at 250. I deliberated on whether or not I want to do that for some of the reasons ACDC said. I don't want to be rooting against companies. I like to build things up, and I decided to take the short with a promise to my blog subscribers that if I make a profit, I'm going to give away 10% of it. So that offsets the bad energy for me.
Okay, that's great. So, what subscribers you said?
I write on Substack, and I have like
Oh,
500,
gotcha.
500 subs over there.
That's awesome. That's
Yaman,
awesome.
Yaman, sorry, but I'm out. That's it. I'm out. This was my last space. I didn't realize. I mean, I'm in a space where everybody's shorting now.
Yeah.
I don't know what you started here,
I
but
know.
everybody's shorting here. Okay, this is
But
not what I signed up for.
at least they're not shorting Tesla, right? They're not shorting Tesla. I mean, I guess I actually know. Tech Greg is shorting Tesla. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, but Carvana, I think is a company that a lot of people are interested in. So maybe we can dig into Carvana. Since ACDC is a subscriber and Chris is a subscriber, we can do a subscribers on space and dig into a little bit more. And yeah, I have a short position on Carvana too.
Got a
And
quick question for Greg.
yeah,
Sorry to
yeah.
interrupt. Greg, what do you think about the robotaxi promise by June?
Yeah, I think that's wishful thinking. To put it mildly, I don't think they're going to make that. Maybe they'll have some limited service in a very limited area just to say they did it, but to have it widespread through I don't know, wishful thinking. Although I do think 13 is amazing, and of all the levels, I had a 21 Tesla, and then I upgraded to the Highland in September, and on hardware 4, and yeah, they're not going to solve it on hardware 3, obviously, but it really, with my wife in the car, I took my family away for the Christmas vacation, and this thing did 1,000 miles over a 4-day period, and it was almost flawless. I had one critical intervention for sun. I was in Vermont over a mountain for about 10 seconds, and then that was it. Very smooth. Very. I do believe they're going to solve it, and it's not, I don't think it's going to cost them $100 billion. I disagree with Yaman on that front.
So, yeah, man, I'm going to agree with Greg on that. In fact, I think you and I already have a bet that they will launch it on a limited basis by the year end. But I'll take it. If someone else wants to take a bet, that I think they'll be able to pull it off by June. I just had a drive last night. I had to go to an event probably about 8 miles away. It was dark. It was raining. It was raining heavy. I personally hate driving in those conditions because of all the reflection that you get from the light. I've got dark tint all over, so it makes it very tough for me. I mean, I could drive, of course, but I feel very uncomfortable. And I just wanted to try it. I said, you know what, I'll disengage if it's unable to handle it. This thing drove to the event and back better than I could have. I never even thought of disengaging. I'm like, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. And in fact, it was still raining when I was coming out of the event. I summoned it right near to, this was at a hotel, right in front of the lobby. I got in. The valet was actually looking at me like, wait, who brought that car to you? But I was, I mean, and I haven't got any recent updates. I'm just on 13.2.2. So all these recent updates that are rolling, I haven't even got those. And I was very impressed and in that heavy rain and inclement weather. So I think they'll be able to pull it off on a limited basis.
Yeah, and what's amazing about this version also is the decision making. Even if the critical interventions didn't increase that much, even though they did, but even if they didn't, it's the decisions between those interventions that it makes that you would make, and sometimes they're better than I make. Sometimes I'll question what it's doing. Then I'm like, oh wow, that lane slowed down. I didn't realize it was going to slow down, and it preemptively got out of the way. That's what I find almost more incredible about this version than previous versions.
Okay. Well, let's dig into it a little bit. So ACDC says Tesla will do ACDC. Are you saying unsupervised or robotaxis?
Well, it's technically the same. Actually, in fact, I'm coming to the belief that robotaxis will happen much before unsupervised comes to regular cars.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we may not get
So
unsupervised with the actual FSD package that we have paid for, because the only thing promised to us was supervised FSD. So the end package, if you want unsupervised, may be a completely different package.
okay. So you're saying that Tesla will start producing the Cybercab with steering wheel, and will roll out, say, a few dozen of them in Austin with, control drivers, maybe employees in the driver's seat, and start giving rides. Is that the prediction, or are you predicting that there will be no driver in the driver's seat by June?
I'm predicting they'll be able to roll out 50, 100 robo taxis, no steering wheel, no driver in Austin by June.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take you up on that. No problem. I'll take you up on that bet.
That's bold. That's a bold prediction.
That is a bold prediction.
So can you cancel out our December end bet then?
No.
Because if I lose
No,
this,
no.
then that's already gone.
No. We have two bets. There are two distinct bets. So let me ask you one more thing. So let's say you're right that they were able to do 100 of them. And the bet is for 100, okay? That they're going to do 100 of them in Austin. No driver, no driver in the seat, not in the steering wheel. So basically, what we saw at the Optimus event or We Robot event in Austin. Okay, they're saying. And is there going to be a speed limit, do you think, to these cars?
I think there'll be geofence within the city limit itself, so thus it'll be the city speed limits. And can we bring the number down from 100 to 50? I think that was what the number was at the Robotaxi event.
Well, you said 50 to 100, and now you're already back. You're already scaling back.
What's the difference? 50, 100? It's the proof of concept. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry. So sorry. What did you say about speed limit? I got distracted for a second.
I think it'll be within the city limits. So I don't think these cyber cabs will go from Austin to 50 miles out of the city. So the speed limit by itself will be limited because of the city speed limits.
Well, not exactly, because when I was testing Cruise in Austin, those cars were limited to about 25 miles an hour. So that's not the same as, in Austin, you can go up to like 50, 60 miles without getting on the highway. So is that your prediction, that there's going to be a speed limit or no?
No speed limit. Tesla will be able to do
No
it
speed
with
limits. Oh
city
my
speed
goodness.
limits, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay. Let me take you up on this. You know what's really interesting? I actually have a bet that's very similar to this from 3 years ago with a friend of mine in Austin. And I took your side 3 years ago. At the end of 2025 was the cutoff for the bet, for a beer. But I think my view on these things have changed since then. So let me see. Tesla robotaxis in Austin by June. Robotaxi in Austin by June. No steering wheel, no human driver. Yes, BGS Do One. You have such a cool handle. And no is Value Analyst One. That's
So
that's
you're
funny. You have Do One. I have the number one in my name.
so you're coming out at the winning end anyways, because you're gonna lose. If you lose a coffee, you'll gain a beer. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's a good hedge.
Right. My shorts would probably burn, but whatever. We live and we die. We all die anyway. Um, yeah, I think this is gonna be very gradual process. If you look at how Waymo and Cruise went about it, they did about a year, I think, of did about a year of kind of testing with drivers. I mean, Waymo, I think, is still testing in Austin. I don't know if they're doing driverless rides in Austin still, and they've been doing it for a long, long time, you know. And so I pinned it up here. Do you agree with it? I mean, this is a very simple bet. This is basically what Elon said on the call, right? ACDC.
Yep.
Okay, so you check that wording and let me know if you agree. And then in the meantime, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how much are these bets for? How do you keep track of them? How do you pick them?
$5. $5, but the winner has an option to say, you know, um, let's either grab coffee when we meet or grab a beer, whatever, when we meet in your city or my city, or just send $5 via Venmo, PayPal, whatever. But obviously, there's no binding thing. Like a lot of people just they don't follow up, or um, they say don't worry about it, or like bets cancel each other out. So we're very lax about it. I mean, there's nothing. We're not here to gamble for $5. What this is for is, people make a lot of predictions and on the fly. They'll do it in the middle of their sentences without realizing that it's a bit outlandish or maybe too conservative, too optimistic. So it's a way for me to kind of flag that, let them know that I think it's the other way. Or sometimes we have bets among speakers that I'm not even involved, and we put in writing so that when you put coffee, when I say coffee bet, people get so serious about it. You know, Sometimes people get overly serious about it and it kind of turns into fights and stuff. I don't like that. And sometimes I'll just cut someone off from coffee bets. I'm like, you've had enough coffee, buddy. You have too much caffeine. But most of the time, people are very relaxed about it, friendly about it. And then the way I track it is, okay, I word it. Actually, you know what? I didn't do it this time. So thank you for reminding me. Give me 1 second. I need to revise this. And I'll show you how I track them. Okay. Sorry, ACDC. Give me 1 second.
Wait, so you can go back and edit them?
No, no. If it's a reply to a thread, I can't edit them, but I need to delete that one and do it the exact wording so it's searchable. So what I do is I do a coffee emoji, space, bet in capital letters with a semicolon. And then I say the bets. So now when I need to search for them, I can just do, search for that. You know what I mean? And so which makes it really easy. So, okay, coffee bet Tesla robotaxis in Austin by June. By means by the end of. No steering wheel, no human driver. And now we have the bet. Okay. So now ACDC, I pinned it at the top. So that's, everybody can search for it. These are public bets and they're always in a reply to the space. So if you care to listen to the space, you can listen to the space. Not always, but usually they're in a reply to the space. So you can listen to the space to see what the discussion was at the time. Lately I haven't been recording the spaces on X, but the recordings are on YouTube. So you can just look at the date and then go find the episode if you so care on YouTube. Subscribers will have recordings for subscribers on the spaces. So I'm going to try to build some value for subscribers. So ACDC, there you go. Now we have a bet.
Well, you have a lot of bets if you need to do a word search. I just bookmarked them and put them in a folder called bets. And I think I have 5, and all of them are with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, I have, actually one of my followers created a spreadsheet that's searchable by person, by topic and stuff. But I think he stopped doing that. And but I can easily search for it anyway. Like I can search for a person, I can search for the so that's no problem. But I have to write them. I have to write them because I search as from me. So that's how I know they're legit.
I think it's a great way because I think it also, instead of just talking out of your ass, I think it makes you put some thought into what you're saying, put some timeline into it, put some specifics, numbers to it. So it's a good way to measure your thought and a prediction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I mean, I love these coffee bets, and there's such an easy way to do it. There's a friendly way to do it. And we can focus on fundamentals of the company. It gets people to think, like you said, they're trackable. Like sometimes people will misremember what they said, but I have it in writing. I have the exact wording in writing. So this is what you said, dude. You know what I mean? So anyway, I met people in person for coffee. I've sent people $5 when I lose. They've sent me $5 when they lose, and it's great. It gets me out of my confirmation bias. It's also like one of the purposes to kind of like track my own predictions. And I have so many of them that sometimes if somebody doesn't want to take me up on it, I'll just put it down in my notebook and track them that way. Anyway, Chris.
I love it. I think it's great. So I messaged like a Tesla Uber bull on Instagram, and I just wanted to engage with him. And I said, "Do you think Tesla will trade under 300 in 2025?" He said, "No chance. Won't go below 400 ever again." And that was on December 25th. I said, "Would you put money on that?" He said, "I have 60,000 in calls on the line." I said, "I'd make a bet it drops below 400 in 2025." He said, "100 push-ups, it won't." And then a week later, it dropped below 400. So I'm still waiting on my video of 100 push-ups.
That's pretty funny. Does it have to happen all at once?
Oh, good question. I just asked him. I'm curious, will the 100 push-ups be consecutive? He said, "I'll do them today in a hopefully short video." That was yesterday.
That's so funny. Do you mind sharing who it is? I'm curious.
Yeah, his name's Richard Gilpin. He's a friend of a
Mm,
friend. I don't think he's super popular in the
that is
Tesla
so
community.
funny. That's so funny. Okay, cool. ACDC?
Chris, he's doing one push up a day, so it's going to take 100 days for him to put the recording together. So
I
give,
mean,
give, give him a little
yeah,
time.
if he said there's no way it's gonna go to below 400, he must be new in the Tesla stack, I'm guessing. I don't know. Is he new?
I actually don't know how long he's been investing in Tesla stock, but he said, "Why do you think it'll drop below 400?" I said, "Well, the short answer is because it's one of the most volatile stocks in the game."
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
Am
By the way,
I?
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to switch topics. ACDC, did you have something?
I just had a quick, yeah, unless you were going to still talk about Tesla, I just wanted thoughts from you and maybe Greg. Tesla released a video of the new robo cleaning process, I guess, of
Oh,
the
yeah. Yeah.
cyber cabs. I mean, it looked like a lot of hype and stuff to me. I'm just trying to figure out because I'm trying to incorporate this. I mean, I want to be in the positive. I am positive. Like I said, I'm betting you that I think this will be possible, but I'm trying to determine the scalability of this, right? But this cleaning process doesn't seem like it's going to be viable after every ride, which is what an Uber driver can do, right? First of all, when you're in an Uber, you have a certain amount of accountability. You're not going to just leave trash and stuff and everything or leave the car in a mess. The guy's right there. And even if you do leave it a little messy, the guy checks it, cleans it up a little bit, gets the car ready, boom, for the next ride. How will the cybercats be able to do it? I mean, you can't go at the end of the day for a full vacuum and just call it a day. So I don't know. Just want to get some thoughts.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be after every ride. It can just be after, somebody reports, or you see it in cameras. Like the Tesla will see it in cameras that there's something that needs to be cleaned, that the car is ready for a cleaning. So, yeah, but you're right though. It's not gonna like if every ride is like that, then it's a problem. But then you can, if somebody is consistently, trashing the car and they're leaving the car in bad shape, and you see it in your cameras, you can reduce their rating. So I think, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. I don't think this will be a huge problem. Tech, Greg, what do you think?
How does Waymo do it now? They have the same problem, no?
Well, I think that, yeah, exactly. Cars go back. I mean, I don't think Waymo is a good example to take because it's not a profitable operation, and I think they're going to scale in part because they have Google backing them, and the
Mhm.
backing seems to be very strong. But I don't think Waymo should be the bar. Uber, human driven EVs or hybrids on the Uber network is the competition. Not really Waymo at this point, I think.
No, I agree. It's not competition. But I'm just curious what their process is for.
Yeah,
They still have to deal with the same
they're gonna
issue.
do the same. They're gonna say, but Tesla isn't the only one that can do
Yeah.
robotic arms, or vision.
It looks like a pretty cool idea. I guess that robot can move from car to car as they come to a
I mean,
depot
there
to
was a
charge.
robotic arm that charged the cars 20 years ago that Tesla put out. Remember that robotic snake?
Yeah.
When was that video released? That video was released like 10 plus years ago. And then there was do you remember the FSD video, the video that they just released that these cars drive themselves and everything? How is that any different from 10 years ago? They did a full self driving video. They posted, and that kind of ended up on lawsuits and stuff. And Elon, went on trial, and Ashok, testified as well. So these are just, hype videos, I think.
Yeah.
Also, another thing, Yaman, that I wanted to mention was it's going to, even if this is possible, I think I keep coming back to scalability of robotaxis, because until it's scalable, it's not going to show to the bottom line. And eventually that's what it has to do. But one of the things that Uber does very efficiently, okay, is like when an Uber driver goes from location A to B, their network is so vast that he automatically gets a ride from point B to point C, or to come back to point A, right? And while Tesla is going to be launching this, they're not going to have as many users. So it's going to take a while to reach the peak efficiency that Uber's already has because of their vast network. So these are a lot of the issues that people don't consider. I mean, Uber's been in the market; they're in every market out there. So it's going to take a while for Tesla to get there.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I mean, I don't think the market is pricing this in. I don't think the market is, you know, like I don't think the reason why the stock traded up after earnings is because of Robotaxi or Optimus comments. Um, Tesla has a very cult following that wants to hold the stock for many years to come. So they're kind of, willing to, they shifted their attention a little bit, I think, from these deliveries to maybe energy to other things. Interest rates are coming down and everything. So I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of manipulation going on with zero dated options or zero DTE, day to expiration options on these stocks. I wouldn't um I wouldn't um think too much about short term movements, honestly. But yeah, I agree. I think it doesn't appear that Tesla is going to do like a one release that the entire nation becomes a robotaxi. Entire U.S. fleet becomes a robotaxi. It's going to be city by city, just like Waymo did or Cruise is doing. And Waymo seems to be ahead. And to the extent that some people say, well, Tesla's cost per mile will be lower than Waymo, maybe, maybe not. And even if it is it going to be that much lower? I don't know, because LiDAR costs have declined tremendously, and that's before Waymo scales. So, BYD is now adding LiDAR to its Seal vehicle, which is a $25,000 car. So, it's only cost like a couple $100. I think it's like adding ultrasonic sensors now. So, I mean, you know, Adam Jonas keeps asking about LiDAR to Elon on these earnings calls, and Elon always bashes it. But there is a reasonable argument that Tesla may actually end up putting additional sensors on there. I mean, they have removed sensors, they've added sensors. So who's to say that they're not going to do LiDAR or at some point? I don't think, Elon has changed his strategy many times, his mind on things many times. So it could happen again. I wouldn't write it off completely.
I think the challenge.
Tech Greg, hold on. Chris
Sorry.
has his hand up. Chris?
Hey, yeah, I think I think Elon is great. He's a hero. He's a genius, but he's been delusional on FSD for 6 years straight. And I'm wondering if there's any like analogy to this situation, like in tech, where you had Waymo going with lidar, and then Tesla going with this lower cost solution, but it's not quite as good. Like, is there any analogy we can use to think about this? And then also, I was talking with Wesla about fleet learning, and he was saying Tesla is working on fleet learning. Are you thinking about that at all?
Yeah, we've talked about fleet learning before. I think that's going to be more for Optimus than. I mean, Tesla does some fleet learning, right? They collect data through their fleet, but so I think robotaxi. I think FSD training will be more at the mothership, and I don't know, Optimus maybe years down the line might do some. I mean, the other thing I want to talk to you about is Meta. When he joins us one of these days, we'll talk about Titan's paper that Google put out. And I think that topic may come up there. Learning during inference time may come up during that conversation, but we'll see. Tech Greg, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think their challenge is the bright sun. They need to come up with a solution for that. And I think vision, as long as the cameras are clear, I think that vision works because of the way I see it driving now. And having one type of sensor, I think, is an advantage to the AI, not having to interpret multiple types of
Yeah.
sensors. I get the
I think
idea.
it
but
has its advantages. It has its drawbacks. Like one advantage is obviously lower cost. Another advantage is, you don't have at inference time, you don't have to fuse different data. But
Yeah.
then there's an advantage too. Camera like LiDAR sees things that cameras doesn't in conditions that cameras don't. So just because humans, drive with two eyes doesn't mean you should only drive in vision. There's other considerations. But I have to. So we're coming up to 2 hours,
Okay.
and I want to reiterate. I'm going to do subscriber only spaces going forward. We're going to start this weekend. I will tweet out what time, probably Sunday night. But I'll tweet out what time, and then we'll review Tesla's earnings call, and we're going to do some deep dives in competition and other companies as well. So on that note, thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy your weekends. And I will chat with you all next time. Thank you to those who contributed today. Chat with you all next time, and take care.